first room. I know not a whole lot of people tend to think this is the first area of the caverns because, well, we don't have a cavern ceiling above our heads. But this area used to have a ceiling until about 5,000 years ago. At that point in time, due to weather and erosion, the ceiling basically fell down in upon itself. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Bear Pit. Right now we're about 45 feet below the National Bridge. In case you guys are wondering why we refer to it as the Bear Pit, it's because during development, when digging out this path, we found an 8,000-year-old jaw bone and a 5,000-year-old leg bone of a couple black bears. Now, those bones aren't in here right now. They're actually in the visitor center in the dining area, in case you guys want to see what those look like. Now, to give you guys an idea of what this room used to be like before we developed it, that area we just came through didn't exist at all. That was all solid stone. The original entrance down into the Bear Pit is actually up here on top of this man-made wall. That's where the original entrance was. It's been covered up by boulders now, so nobody can get through there anymore. The other thing that's changed about this room is actually where the floor used to be. You see, the floor is much lower. It used to be up to about right around here. That means that when the 4 explorers came through here, they basically had to squat down in this area, but upon getting here, they had to crawl down on their stomachs. They crawled all the way back there where there's some crawl spaces for their first trip. Now down there are 2 crawl spaces that are located up to the ceiling. They go back about 100 feet, and well, they're referred to as the raccoon rooms, and there's a reason for that. You see, when they went down there, they went all the way to the very end where they encountered a family of raccoons, which wasn't a pleasant experience. If you guys have ever encountered a raccoon up close and personal before, it's not fun. They're very aggressive, so you can imagine it was quite a special event, encountering one in the dark, and the only way to get away from said raccoon is to crawl backwards on your stomach. All in all, not a pleasant event, but a memorable one, and that's why that area is marked off as the raccoon rooms. Now, the raccoons aren't down there anymore. They are long gone. But, of course, the 4 explorers, despite being disappointed, they didn't give up. They kept crawling around until they found Discovery Crawlway, which is right back there underneath the handrails where that light is. If you guys can't see it right now, don't worry, you'll see it in a bit. Just look to your right, just below the handrails, and you'll see it. It's marked off, even got its own little sign. Now, Discovery... other end of Discovery Crawlway. That's how the 4 explorers. And basically, it was like having an open flame candle on your head. You could maybe see 10, 20 feet. That's about it. You couldn't see anything else. Now, when they were down here, stalactites. Yep. Those are stalagmites and stalactites. Now, stalagmites and stalactites are created by dripping water, so we refer to them as dripstone because of that. Now, we do have two other types of dripstone you guys will see down here, such as this. This is called a cave column. This is what a stalagmite or stalactite will grow into as they keep growing. Because of that, that's what gives them that really thin shape. This right here, this used to be a normal broomstick handle stalagmite, but since it's hit the ceiling, that is now our second tallest cave column called the totem pole. Now, the other thing you'll probably notice about this room is going to be the walls. You'll probably see that they go up in layers. That's because they're going up in layers of limestone. In fact, most of this region of Texas is basically one giant slab of limestone. There's a reason for that. You see, a long time ago, scientists think that about 120, 140 million years ago, Texas, or at least this area of Texas, was all underwater. Based on each other, the top layers, due to their combined weight, began crushing the lower layers, and began crushing and compacting them into these layers of limestone. That's how this all came about. Now, if you're wondering if that's when the caverns started forming, it actually started forming sometime later, about 20 million years ago. See, at that point in time, Texas was having a lot of seismic activity, a lot of earthquakes. And what that did is it caused about 50 feet wide, 50 feet tall, 250 feet long. It gets its name because these three large formations, these are giants, and they're both some of the largest formations down here. Now this one right here, this is called the Watchtower. This is our largest cave column, our tallest cave column, standing the same height of the room at 50 feet, and it is 8 feet around in diameter. Next to it, this right here, this is our largest stalagmite. This is called the Mounts of the Landlord. It gets that name because you can kind of make out these little pockets inside. When poor explorers saw these pockets, they thought they looked like windows inside apartment buildings. Then somebody noticed this little stalagmite sticking out of the center and thought it looked like a little man. They basically thought of it as the landlord sitting on his mount. Now this right here is called the King's Throne. It's that name because you can kind of make out two armrests, a footrest, the back of the chair, and it's to be the decoration of the throne. Now along the ceiling, you'll notice some examples of what we call cavern chandeliers, which are what these are. There's some over here too. This one right here in the middle of the room, you can make out where my flashlight's shining. That is called cave bacon. That's what that chandelier is made up of. Now that cave bacon gets that odd colored shape due to varying levels of humic acid. Wavelength of color to appear, and that's the color green. That's why if the water isn't so deep, you'll notice it's pretty clear. You'll be able to see that a little bit better in one of the next areas we go to called Emerald Lake, which gets its name because of the emerald colored water. Now to point out one last thing before we go, right down there, just beyond that handrail, that's the second lowest point of the cavern. That's called Brendel's Canyon. It's about 207 feet below the natural bridge, although from where we're standing, it's about 57 below where you are. That's how high the water can get given enough rain. As I mentioned earlier, just beyond here, there is a digital photography booth. I got to get that up and running because that's how they keep track of where we're at in the tour. But when we do start going through there, if you all want, we'll take some photos. When we do that though, we do it one group at a time. The reason behind that is, the camera takes a picture of the entire room. Not only that, there's several flash bulbs. The one we have to be most concerned with though, is this one right here. What that does is, if you guys move beyond the handrails, you get caught in that flash. What that does is, it will cause a shadow image to appear behind the group that is having the photo taken. So when we start taking photos, if you're on the group that's currently having the photo taken, please leave right here by the handrails. Don't go past it or else you get caught in that flash, and it will cause a shadow image to appear behind the group that is having the photo taken. Or if you move farther than that, you'll actually end up getting the photo yourself. Now, I'm going to to our largest room. This is called the Hall of the Mountain King. Right now we're about 135 feet below the Natural Bridge. And if you're wondering just how big this room is, it's about 100 feet wide, 100 feet tall, 350 feet long. It's also the largest show cavern room in Texas. Now, as some of you probably noticed, that large hole right back there, that is the other end of Grendel's Canyon. If you were to go down there and go slightly to the left, you'd end up back in the Castle of the White Giants. It connects the two rooms. Now, if you guys look at the ceiling, you'll get an idea for what makes this room so special. You see, this room was made a little bit differently, and that's why the ceiling appears to go up in steps or different layers. And that's because this room is what we call a breakout dome. And, well, you'll probably also notice all these large stones. See, the stones are what broke out away from the dome. And, well, the reason they did that is it comes back to the joints. You see, every room we've been in has had a couple intersecting joints running through it. But in this room, we have several, quite a lot of them intersecting each other. Now, what that did is it weakened the rock layers above. However, they didn't all come down at once. If they did, this room would be much more flat. The reason they came down the way they did is because this room was filled with water, just like all the others back when the caverns were forming. Now, what that water did was it held the rocks up in check due to opposing buoyant force and pressure. However, the water slowly receded over time, and as it did, it took away that opposing buoyant force and pressure with it, and so the rocks began to fall away layer by layer, step by step, as the water went. And that's why the room gets this shape. Now, in just a moment, when we head up to the side of the hall, you guys are going to see a lot of stalagmites. There's a ton of them in this room. But keep an eye out for one special type of stalagmite we call the fried eggs. What they are, they're these flat-top stalagmites with a high concentration of calcite in the center, which makes them look like sunny-side-up eggs. And the reason they get that appearance is due to how high the ceiling is. You see, since the ceiling is so high, when water drips down from it, it'll splash where it lands. And when it does that, it flattens out the stalagmite, but it puts more calcite in the center, whereas the outer areas don't get as much from the splash, so it's more white. Hence why it looks like a sunny-side egg. Yeah, these are starting to become like fried eggs, but it's going to take a while before they get to that point. Now, just so you guys also know, from here on up is all uphill, so this will be very steep. So would this large amount of fauna be created by such a small amount of bats? The answer is, they didn't create it. It's not about help. You probably noticed from this end of the ceiling, there's a lot more orange than there is white calcite. Because all that orange, along with that little gray bat roost, was all one giant roost of bats at one time. So you can just imagine bats hanging where you see orange and gray. You'll have an idea for just how large the colony was down here. Now, the bats are, of course, aren't here. The last time they were here was 5,000 years ago. Now, the prevailing theory as to why we think the bats stopped coming here 5,000 years ago was the sinkhole falling apart. So you can think that when the sinkhole fell apart, it basically blocked the bats' entry, so they weren't able to come down here in large numbers anymore. So they basically left to other caverns, and they haven't been back since. Now, the bees doesn't have to once I turn on the lights, you guys are free to go. There will be gates, but don't worry, they're all locked for you. Other than that, please be careful as you make your way up across or up the exit path. It is wet, so please hold on to the handrails. Other than that, thank you all for coming, and I wish you all a good day.